In the fall of 1962, the world teetered on the brink of nuclear catastrophe. A tense standoff unfolded between two superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union, igniting a crisis that would forever alter the course of history. This is the story of the Cuban Missile Crisis. To understand the Cuban Missile Crisis, we must first travel back to the early years of the Cold War. The aftermath of World War II left the globe divided into two camps: the capitalist West, led by the United States, and the communist East, led by the Soviet Union. Tensions were high, and both sides were racing to build their military arsenals, particularly their nuclear capabilities. Cuba, just 90 miles off the coast of Florida, became a focal point of this rivalry. In 1959, Fidel Castro's revolution transformed Cuba into a communist state, which alarmed the United States. The fear of a Soviet ally just a stone's throw away ignited paranoia in Washington. By 1962, the situation escalated dramatically. The Soviet premier, Nikita Khrushchev, sought to bolster Cuba's defenses against a potential US invasion, especially after the disastrous Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961, where the US attempted to overthrow Castro. In response, Khrushchev made a pivotal decision to place nuclear missiles in Cuba. On October 16, 1962, US intelligence discovered these missile sites under construction. The implications were staggering. For the first time, American cities could be within striking distance of Soviet nuclear missiles. The stakes had never been higher. As the news broke, President John F. Kennedy convened a group of advisors known as the Executive Committee of the National Security Council, or EXCOM. The gravity of the situation demanded careful deliberation. Should they launch an airstrike to destroy the missile sites, or should they impose a naval blockade to prevent further shipments of military equipment to Cuba? Each option carried monumental risks. An airstrike could trigger a Soviet response, potentially leading to a full-scale nuclear war. A blockade, however, would be a show of strength, but could also escalate tensions. The world watched anxiously as Kennedy and his advisors weighed their options. On October 22, 1962, Kennedy addressed the nation, announcing the implementation of a naval blockade around Cuba. He made it clear that any missile launched from Cuba would be met with a full retaliatory response against the Soviet Union. The message was clear: the US would not back down. The following days were filled with uncertainty. Soviet ships approached the blockade, and the world held its breath. Would Khrushchev back down, or would he challenge the US resolve? The tension was palpable, and the possibility of nuclear war loomed over humanity. On October 27, 1962, the situation reached a boiling point. A US U-2 spy plane was shot down over Cuba, killing the pilot. This incident pushed the two nations closer to the brink of war. Kennedy faced immense pressure to retaliate, but he also understood the catastrophic consequences of such an action. In a moment of clarity, Kennedy chose to communicate directly with Khrushchev. Behind closed doors, both leaders recognized the dire need for diplomacy. A series of letters exchanged between them led to a breakthrough. On October 28, 1962, Khrushchev announced that he would dismantle the missile sites in Cuba in exchange for a US pledge not to invade Cuba and the secret removal of American missiles from Turkey. The crisis had been averted, but the world had come dangerously close to nuclear annihilation. The Cuban Missile Crisis taught invaluable lessons about the importance of communication and diplomacy in international relations. It highlighted the need for restraint and the understanding that the stakes of nuclear war were far too high for any game of brinkmanship. In the aftermath, both superpowers took steps to reduce the risk of future crises. The establishment of the hotline between Washington and Moscow allowed for direct communication in times of emergency. The Nuclear Test Ban Treaty of 1963 marked a significant step towards controlling the proliferation of nuclear weapons. the Cuban Missile Crisis remains a powerful reminder of the fragility of peace in a world armed with nuclear weapons. The decisions made during those tense 13 days continue to resonate in today's geopolitical landscape, reminding us of the importance of diplomacy and dialogue. Thank you for joining us on this journey through one of the most critical moments in history. If you found this story compelling, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more captivating geopolitical tales. Until next time, stay informed and stay engaged.